You're listening to the Greeks Gridiron, live with Ethan Haristodoulou.
Welcome back, everyone, to more of the Greeks Gridiron. I am Ethan Haristodoulou, and today, on this August 9th, 2022, I am back from my vacation, and we are diving right into my Next Man Up series, a series I am doing of 8 videos where I discuss each and every single division and the 4 teams within them, and we're going to talk one player from each team that I have my eye on going into this next season, whether it's a newcomer, a second-year guy, or maybe a guy who's has been in the league for, 2-3 years now, but is right on the cusp of breaking out and really becoming a star for their team. We are going to break them down, each and every single one, so make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on all the other content as we get set for the preseason, which kicks off. It officially has kicked off, I guess, with the Hall of Fame game last week, but week 1, where everyone else will be diving in, kicks off officially this Thursday. So a lot to talk. There'll be a lot of stuff coming your way. I'm very excited for the preseason to finally get here. So do not miss out. Hit that subscribe button. So without further ado, we start with the AFC East today. So we're talking the Patriots, the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Bills, who, leaders of the division, probably one of the, I don't want to say sure bets to make the Super Bowl, but definitely probably someone that a lot of people are putting their money on to hit the Super Bowl. There are a lot of players to look at from all of these teams and identify, this guy could potentially have a strong year after maybe looking good last year, or maybe he's on a new team. We'll start with the Patriots, and someone that I identified here on the offensive side of the ball, and I really like his chances, especially considering the situation of another person in his position group. I like running back Rhamondre Stevenson. I think that he is poised to have himself a pretty solid year where his workload is potentially going to increase more so as the season progresses because of what's kind of going on with Damien Harris. So Damien Harris, if you did not know, he's been a part of the team now for the last 3 years, and he is going into his 4th year right now. I think there is a potential, because there's no 5th-year option picked up or anything like that for Damien Harris. There is a possibility that we end up seeing the Patriots move on from Harris and go with Rhamondre Stevenson, especially on the back half of the season after the trade deadline. I'm not necessarily saying that I guarantee a Damien Harris trade, but I could see the situation being likely. Bill Belichick is a guy that likes to flip his players and get them, get the most that he can back for them, depending on whatever the situation may be. And with how good Rhamondre Stevenson looked in the, limited carries that he got last season, 606 yards. He had 5 touchdowns. He also had 14 catches for 123 yards through the air. He seems like a guy that they can rely on and be an effective back. Do I think he can be a 3-down back? I don't know that per se, but the Patriots have never really been a team to feature a running back, so I would assume that if Damien Harris is gone, someone else they have in mind that is ready to step up or they're willing to bring in at some point throughout the early part of this preseason here that's maybe sitting on the free agency wire. Maybe they opt to trade Damien Harris sooner than that. I don't know. Again, all speculation, but I think with the skill that Stevenson flashed last year, and also the switch to a more 2 tight end set, I think we're going to see a lot more running from this team than last year. Try to really focus on the 2 tight ends, blocking lanes and things like that. I really expect the Patriots to maybe dial back the throwing just a tiny bit, because there's still so much uncertainty with the wide receiver group. And even if it's more so in the early part of the season than it is in the back half of the season, once the offense hopefully starts clicking and gets rolling, I could see Stevenson getting a boatload of carries and maybe not hitting 1,000 yards, but pushing like 700, 800, 900 yards and around that 5 to 8 touchdown range, somewhere along there. I could definitely see Stevenson taking over the workload as the season progresses, especially if they look to flip Damien Harris. Now, for the New York Jets, someone that I really wanted to talk about with this team, basically as soon as I saw him sign with the team during free agency, it's got to be cornerback DJ Reed. A guy that's going to have a chip on his shoulder, because if you did not hear his comments about this, I believe it was a few weeks ago when it was mentioned, talking about his signing with the New York Jets and the contract offer that the Seattle Seahawks gave him during free agency. He did not really feel like he was respected by the Seahawks. And while it's not going to create a massive chip on his shoulder, to know that the team that you were playing on the last couple of years that you really started to flourish with on the defense kind of tell you, your value is this much when you feel like your value is this much, I think kind of throws a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. You couple that with the fact that Robert Saleh was his defensive coordinator when he was in San Francisco, because he's only been in the league 4 years now. In his first 2 years, he was in San Fran with Saleh. There is a really good, situation of familiarity, understanding the schemes and things like that. DJ Reed already looked really good the last couple of years, and I think going into this season now, going into a system you already know, this is like best case scenario if you were to move from one team to another and continue on the progression and success that he's had so far on the field. This is a guy I really like. I think DJ Reed is one of the, better side, like on the better side of cornerbacks in the league. I don't know if I would say he's a top 10 corner or anything like that. You might have that argument. Maybe he's top 15, somewhere around there, but I definitely think he's amongst that group of better corners in the league. And I'm not sitting here trying to have a discussion about top 10 corners right now, but he's somewhere within the conversation of like 10 to 15, arguably, maybe a little bit lower depending on who you talk to. But I really like his chances over there in New York, and I think this was a great signing for the Jets. Also, how about that Mekhi Becton news? Not great. Not great for New York. You move him from left tackle to right tackle, and then he goes down and fractures his kneecap. Awful, awful, awful. Hopefully he comes back next year ready to roll, but definitely a tough blow for New York. I thought I just mentioned that because that came out earlier today. Next up, we are looking at the Miami Dolphins, and a guy who pretty much, he put the league kind of on notice last year, but considering additions and what they're going to be doing offensively over there in Miami this year, I think that Jalen Waddle, while he showed up last year, I think is going to really stand out this year. The addition of Tyreek Hill only emphasizes that. You have a good pass-catching tight end in Mike Gesicki. You also have, obviously, Tyreek Hill and a few other pretty solid wide receivers around him and Jalen Waddle and Hill himself. I think that things are really going to open up for Jalen Waddle. It's his second year in the league. Things are going to be slower. He already came out of the gate hot, and I know that some people are saying, oh, well, people will be prepared for Jalen Waddle. They're going to have to double cover Tyreek Hill. He needs bracket coverage. You can't let a guy like him play one-on-one with anyone. He's going to need multiple guys on him every single play. And Jalen Waddle, even on the back half of the season, when teams are really starting to take notice, he was blowing people out of the water. I mean, his rack ability with the ball in his hands it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. The fact that, his rookie year, 1,015 yards, 6 touchdowns, 104 catches. You want to talk about hitting on a rookie wide receiver and then bringing in elite talent who showed up last year is now going to open things up for Waddle even more, bringing in Hill. Like, a lot of people are talking about Tyreek Hill and what he's going to do for this offense, and I feel like the narrative of, can Tua hit Tyreek Hill in stride and blah, blah, blah has been such a wild topic of conversation in Miami, and I guess to an extent, rightfully so, but are we all forgetting just how good Jalen Waddle was? And he puts the league on notice last year. Everyone's going to assume, okay, Jalen Waddle's going to be a feature guy on this team. And then you bring Tyreek Hill in, and it's like everyone forgets that Jalen Waddle's there. Worry about Tyreek Hill, yes, but all that extra coverage and all those extra looks that defenses are going to have to send his way, Jalen Waddle probably going to double down on his season from last year and more than likely do better. Look out for him is all I've got to say. I'm really excited to see what they do there. And then, of course, Mike McDaniel is there as the new head coach. There's a lot of excitement in the air about the Dolphins. We'll have to see just how much running the team does. But I think if Tua and his accuracy is as good as Tyreek Hill says, if he's able to hit Waddle as often as he was last year, and, Tyreek Hill's eating up double coverage, even if Hill doesn't have quite the seasons he was having with Mahomes, Jalen Waddle is poised to be a problem. And then for the Buffalo Bills, this is another guy that immediately when a signing during free agency happened, my mind shot right to this guy because I knew he was going to be the beneficiary of that signing. Greg Rousseau, first-round draft pick for them last year, came on, had a pretty solid season, 4 sacks, 50 tackles. He even had 4 passes defensed and an interception. Good rookie season. Didn't really have a ton of pass rushing help. That was probably the biggest issue for this Buffalo Bills defense last year. So what do they go and do? Well, in the offseason, let's sign Von Miller to a massive 5-year contract. I think it's like $140 million or whatever the number may be. You go ahead and sign Von Miller, and suddenly the young up-and-coming edge rusher, the one guy who was really giving defenses problems, at least not giving defenses problems, but showing up and really showing that he has some talent that offenses are going to need to respect. Now you're going to bring in Von Miller, who, again, just like with the Dolphins and what we just talked about a second ago, is going to have to take up attention. We saw what Von Miller did, especially in the playoff run last season, and the difference he made for that Rams defense when he came in as an extra pass rusher for that team. Von Miller is going to do that same exact thing for the Bills. I have no doubt in my mind Von Miller still playing at a very high level. I remember some people were saying they thought he was falling off just a couple of years ago. I think he's still playing at a very elite level. Obviously not the spring chicken he was when he first came into the league, but he is still a menace and a problem and has the experience behind him now to take away looks from Greg Rousseau, and create some open rushing lanes for Rousseau to become a problem. If someone was poised to make a massive sophomore jump this season from last year's rookie class, Greg Rousseau is a guy that should be on every single person's list. 4 sacks last year, like I said, 50 tackles. He even did a little bit in coverage as well. Now you really get him to go after the quarterback more consistently. Von Miller's obviously going to be doing that, and it feels like they really brought in Von Miller strictly for pass rushing duties. While he can be serviceable in coverage when necessary, I think that you're just going to be sending those two guys off the edges. And again, if you're not double teaming Von Miller every now and again, he's going to get by you and he's going to be an issue. Look out, because I think Greg Rousseau is a guy that the Buffalo Bills are excited about and know is poised for a breakout season, and I'm right there with it, excited to see it go down. But those are my 4 guys, my next men up from the AFC East. I would love to know what you guys think in the comment section down below, so please, my AFC East people, whether you're a Pats fan, Dolphins, Jets, Bills, who are you excited about to see on your team? Do you agree with the guy that I identified from your team's list? Or maybe do you have somebody else in mind who you think is going to hit an even higher ceiling than the guys that I just talked about here? Let me know in the comment section. But I appreciate you all for watching. I'll catch you guys next time. Have a good one.